In this video, we're going to talk about procrastination and time management. This is huge for online learners. I cannot stress this enough. Most of the mistakes and the poor grades that I see in my classes could be solved if they had good time management skills and they didn't procrastinate and wait to the last minute to work on things. So I think this is very important as an online learner that you learn to manage your time properly. So let's go over a few tips for you that hopefully can help you be better in time management. So 5 essential steps, and we'll cover these individually. Use a weekly planner or schedule. Use a planner. Use a calendar. Balance your social and personal demands with your academic demands, and avoid procrastination. So using a weekly calendar. If you can use something like this, you can block out time for class attendance, which we know class attendance in this case means logging into Blackboard, reviewing your lessons, and doing your readings and all of your coursework. That should be a main priority for you if you want to be a successful college student. Now, I know a lot of you are doing online programs because you work full-time and you have families. You might do both. So time might seem like it's an abstract concept for some of you, but you have to block out time for this. If you want to get a degree bad enough, you're going to have to block out time for it, and it should be a main priority in your life. So you need to block out time on your weekly calendar daily to get into Blackboard and do your assignments, your lessons, everything that's required of you, and also to check your ASU email account because there's so much important information that they send out to students through their email account. So you need to get into the practice of checking that daily. Block out time for it. Make it a priority. Make regular slots for studying throughout the week. Write it down on the calendar so you can remember to do it. You'll be more likely to do it if you put it down on your calendar or planner. Plan for time before you log into Blackboard just to review yourself about whatever's being covered that week. You should know what's being covered. Make sure you just get in there and refresh yourself on those ideas. Take time after you log off Blackboard to go over your notes, work on assignments, and complete any readings that you have. So when you block out time for class, it's not just actually getting into Blackboard and doing this stuff. You need to review beforehand and actually go over everything that you just did afterward. So make sure that you take that into consideration when you block out time. Make sure that you make time to take advantage of all the support services that we offer you. I went over that in week 4, all of the learning resources that are available to you on campus. So make sure that you take advantage of those, number one, and make sure that you make time to take advantage of those. And then any extracurricular activities that you have going on in your life and personal commitments, then you have time for that as well. So block out time for class first, then go in and fill in all the other commitments that you might have. You can print out a weekly schedule from many different websites. If you just Google it and look at Google Images for weekly calendar, there's a ton out there that you can print out, and you can get a pen and paper and fill it out yourself. So write in the things that you have to do first at fixed times. So if work is a fixed time, like you go every day at from 8 to 5, pencil that in because you know you're not going to be working on your classes at that time. If you have any meetings, you have any appointments, stuff that you cannot be flexible with, write that down first. Then go in and establish times to work and complete other things. So schedule in personal things, even like sleep, running errands, cleaning, all of that stuff. Schedule in social events, like if you have to exercise or downtime or go out with your friends, put that down as well. But you also, before you put in those things, include your academic stuff. So block out time for homework and studying, tutoring, all of that stuff before you do social, because your academics should be more important than your social right now. Step 2, a planner is like a day-to-day reminder or a list of tasks to be completed. It's like a to-do list. And a lot of people use these daily, so you can prioritize what needs to be done. So you have academic responsibilities, you probably have personal commitments, work commitments, family commitments, social commitments. Prioritize what's important, and whatever is the most important, put it first on your to-do list. And the things like social plans and stuff like that aren't as important, put them down towards the bottom. That way, if you don't get to what's at the bottom, it's not that big of a deal because it's not as important. And then review for the week. Look at your syllabus. Get the dates for your upcoming tests, assignments, all of that stuff for the next week, and make sure that you pencil that in your to-do list. And make sure that it's a priority because these are for your classes and you do get graded on it. And then you probably want to pencil things in on your calendar, like the important days for being a student. And we went over that when we talked about the ASU website, where to find these important dates. So if you need to drop or add a class, there's a certain deadline to do that for. If you need to withdraw from all the classes, there's a deadline for that. There's always, if you're in a 14-week class, we have a set time for midterms. We always have a set time for finals in all of our classes. And then due dates for assignments, projects, exams, all of that stuff. And then breaks. We have a fall break and summer or spring break. So go ahead and put that in your calendar as well, so you can, when you do get to that week, it's already there and you know that it's coming up. Use a calendar. Usually these are not as detailed as planners or weekly schedules. It's usually like a monthly thing. But you can put important dates on there and personal events and social events too. So that way you can just have a quick snapshot of what's going on for that month. You need to learn to balance everything in your life. And this is going to take a lot of prioritizing on your part. So what's important to you? Is completing this degree important to you? If it is, then you need to prioritize time to complete it. And you need to focus on, this is a very small portion of your life we're talking about here. We're talking about probably 2 years to get this degree completed. In the grand scheme of things, that's really a short amount of time. So if you prioritize and make academics a high priority for those 2 years, then you'll be successful in your college career. You can graduate, and then you can get on with the more important things in your life, like family and career and all of that stuff. So here's a good tip for you. Write down what you want to accomplish and when you want to accomplish it. And decide what's most important to you. And what's most important to you should take up the most time in your life. And if it's not really important for you to get a degree right now, then maybe this isn't a great time for you to come back to school. If you need this degree and you want it bad enough, you will find time to carve out to make time for studying and doing assignments and homework and what have you. Make the people in your life aware of your time constraints. Tell them what I just said. Look, I'm going to school. This is really a short amount of time of my life we're talking about here. For a couple of years, I really have to buckle down and get this over with. And then when I'm done, I can go out with my friends more often. Or we can have more date nights. Or we can do this or this or this. But right now, I need to prioritize and keep my focus on my academics. And if others are aware of your time constraints and you ask them to cooperate with you, I think you'll be surprised. They'll be proud that you're going back to school and working on yourself. So I think they'll be very understanding if you just tell them that you have to prioritize for a few years so you can complete your degree. Don't overcommit yourself. I'm the kind of person, I like to volunteer in my community. But if I were working full-time and I was going back to school to get my degree and I have my 2 kids and my husband and all the commitments that go along with them, I would cut back on my volunteering. So whatever you have that's on the back burner in your life that you don't necessarily have to do, don't overcommit yourself. Learn how to say no with volunteering or whatever else that's going on. Don't overcommit yourself because that will cost you in your grades. And if you can, combine your social and academic activities. If you're the kind of person that likes to socialize a lot, then why don't you get together with some of your fellow classmates face to face and make it a study session. So that way you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Procrastination is the devil. Avoid it at all costs. I can't stand when I get a student that's supposed to submit an assignment by 11:59 p.m. on a night and they email me at 11:55 asking a question about it. Number one, I'm asleep at that time, so I'm not going to answer your question in time. And number two, why are you waiting to the last minute to try to do something like that? If this is really important to you in your life that you get your degree, do not procrastinate. Spend plenty of time doing these assignments and studying so that way you don't get overwhelmed and you don't turn in subpar work, because we really need you to give your best effort on this or else your grades will suffer. A lot of people procrastinate for different reasons. Some people are perfectionists and they do start working early, but then they keep revising and revising and revising and revising and revising. Realize that most of your work here is not going to be perfect in the professor's eyes. You will get hundreds along the way, I hope, 100%. But that perfectionist attitude, you probably want to relax a little bit on that. Avoiding failure is another reason we want to procrastinate. Avoiding success. Being rebellious. Feeling overwhelmed and managing your time poorly. And then this last one is what I see a lot with my students. They're just plain lazy. Like I've told you guys at the beginning of this class, I can get into Blackboard and see exactly what you have done in my class. I can tell if you watched my lectures. I can tell if you viewed the assignments. And I, a lot of times, get emails from students with sob stories about, I couldn't turn it in on time and blah, 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 blah. I can go into Blackboard and see what kind of student you are just by seeing what you've done in Blackboard. So a lot of times if you're being lazy, number one, I already know it, and you can't lie or try to fool me. I know that you've been lazy or you're just not getting your work done. And number two, I'm not going to have pity on you. I will show no mercy when you send me the sob story email asking for an extension on your assignment because you put it off to the last minute. And I guarantee you most of the faculty here on ASU campus feels the same way that I do. So don't procrastinate. Don't put off working on assignments. You have plenty of time to work on these things. When you get the instructions for it, start working on it right then so you can get it done properly, and it can be a really good assignment that you turn in. So know what you need to accomplish. That's the first thing that you need to do when you get an assignment. Make sure the instructions are clear and you know exactly what's expected of you. And if you're not clear on it, email or call your instructor to make sure that you are clear on it. Because if you don't know what you should be doing or what you want to accomplish with this assignment, you're not going to do it well. Determine deadlines, and this is something that you could do like that thing I was talking about earlier. The research paper in my critical thinking class, they have 14 weeks to write it. So they need to make little deadlines along the way for themselves to make sure that they stay on track. There are several sections of that paper they have to write, and if they could just set little mini deadlines along the way to meet, to get those sections completed, then they can avoid procrastinating. Use those schedules, planners, calendars, whatever you choose to use. Make sure that you use it and carry it around with you at all times. Our iPhones and cell phones and iPads and stuff like that now make it easy because they have calendar options in it, and there are a ton of apps out there that can help you with this. We all have our cell phones with us 24/7. So take advantage of stuff like that. Prioritize, that's the biggest thing. You have to make your education a priority or you will not succeed. You will not make the grades you want to make. Break a task into a series of steps is kind of what I was just talking about when I talked about making those mini deadlines. The students in my critical thinking class, I asked them to break down the paper into sections and work on those and make deadlines for each of those. And if they do that, then it doesn't seem so overwhelming. Do the unpleasant task first. If we can get the bad, hard stuff out of the way, the other stuff seems like it's a piece of cake. So do the hard stuff first and get it out of the way. Try to think positive about the task. Instead of belly aching and complaining and being negative about the situation, try to understand why we have you do assignments. Try to understand why we have you do homework. It's all in an effort to get you to learn something. And this, in the greater scheme of things, will lead to you having a degree, which will open up the door for you in your career. So try to think positive about even the smallest things we have you do. There's a reason for it. And have fun with the activity. That's the last thing there. Try to be positive and be fun with it and make it enjoyable. That makes me think of Mary Poppins and the spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. And that's the end of this. I hope that you guys will take advantage of some of these tips and learn to manage your time and to prioritize. Again, this is just for a couple of years of your life, and it's going to pay off so much. So just get through it, make sure you prioritize, make time for it, and I think that you will do so much better in your academic career, and you'll do great in these classes, and all of this, again, will lead to you getting a degree.